are 10 of the most dangerous bugs in the world. Number 10. The botfly. The adult botfly doesn't look all that dangerous, and that is partially true. The males, you don't need to worry about them. The egg-laying females, however, are a whole different story. Their eggs contain a creature that will literally eat you up from the inside out. Botfly larvae are parasites. In other words, they survive on other creatures. They live just beneath the skin of their hosts, feeding on their flesh as the larvae develops. Any large mammal is an ideal host for these tiny diggers, and that includes humans as well. Female botflies lay their eggs on the host skin. When the eggs hatch, the tiny larvae will then burrow into the skin, living and feeding in the subdermal zones. The larvae will stay under the host skin for 60 days, all the while the host feeling every single movement the larvae makes. After 60 days, another adult botfly emerges. Botflies can be found all across Central and South America. It is very important to consult a doctor if you find yourself infected, because if left untreated, this tiny larva can deal permanent damage to your skin and even cause infections. Number 9. The fire ant. There are 285 different species of fire ants in the world, all of them dangerous in their own right. These tiny little creatures, once disturbed, would sting or bite any intruder repeatedly, often until the ant or the intruder dies. The fire ant sting is exceptionally painful. Their venom also would cause several skin problems, which include bumps, rashes, chest pain, loss of breath, nausea, and those painful white pustules that can last for days. Fire ant venom consists of a very harmful toxin called solenopsin, which can cause adverse effects on humans if injected in large amounts. That's bad news for us, considering that they attack in groups that may consist of hundreds of individuals, overwhelming anyone they choose to attack with numbers and toxic stings. These ants are very hardy and are capable of surviving extreme conditions and are generally found under logs, bricks, or rocks. Number 8. The giant Japanese hornet. These stinging giants can only be found in Japan and some of the nearby Asian countries, so people seeing them for the first time will definitely be afraid of them. A fully grown giant Japanese hornet can be up to 3 inches long, making them the biggest hornet species in the world. They aren't naturally aggressive, but like all other hornets, they don't like being disturbed. They are also extremely territorial and would aggressively attack any intruder, man or animal. That's why it's unfortunate that their territories usually overlap those of bees. They are expert bee killers. Just 20 of these hornets can decimate an entire hive of honeybees. They also pose a problem to humans as well. Not only do they induce terror due to their immense size, their stings also contain venom similar to that of bees. If you are one of the millions that are allergic to them, you can die from anaphylactic shock. But quite unlike bees who can only sting once, then die, these guys can sting multiple times, and a high concentration of its venom have been known to dissolve human tissue. Every year, up to 40 deaths are attributed to the sting of the Japanese hornet. Number 7. Killer bees. There are a large variety of bees in the world, and every single one of them can be quite deadly in one form or another. A small number of people die every year from bee stings due to anaphylactic shock or other side effects. But there's one variety that lives up to its nickname and can be considered true killers. Killer bees, or Africanized honeybees, need little to no provocation to attack their victims. When they do attack, they do it so in swarms, overwhelming their victims with a multitude of stings. Allergic reactions kill some victims, but others die from simply having too much bee venom in their blood. Killer bees are naturally aggressive, and once they set their sights on a victim, they can get pretty relentless. They have been known to pursue their victims over distances of up to a mile, so outrunning them rarely works. Thousands of people each year are attacked by killer bees, and annual fatalities can reach thousands. There seems to be no escape when attacked by these creatures, so your best bet is to stay away from them as much as possible. Number 6. The bullet ant. The bullet ant is officially the largest ant in the world, but that's not the reason why they're on this list. They are mostly found in the rainforests of Nicaragua and Paraguay, where they are sought after by certain tribes, and you'll know the reason why in a bit. Bullet ants are so named because of their painful sting, which is often likened to being hit by a bullet. Bite victims have reported that, after being bitten, they feel a pain so intense that it feels like they've been shot. If you haven't been shot before and want to imagine just how painful it is, just imagine being stung by 30 wasps simultaneously, all at the same spot. They have a nickname, the 24-hour ant, and that's because the pain bite victims feel can last for 24 hours. Like their smaller cousins, bullet ant colonies contain hundreds of members, and they usually make their nests at the base of large trees. And like I mentioned earlier, certain tribes in Nicaragua and Paraguay hunt them down to use them in some sort of coming-of-age ritual. Young men wear wicker gloves containing dozens of these insects and have themselves intentionally bitten. If they can withstand the pain for 24 hours, they are considered men. Number 5. Kissing bugs. Never let a kissing bug give you its lethal kiss, or rather bite. Its bite is more than enough to debilitate any healthy adult. Kissing bugs survive by sucking the blood of vertebrates, and they get their name after their habit of biting the lip of humans while they sleep, attracted to this place by the carbon dioxide we exhale. After feeding, these bugs secrete a fluid that, when ingested through the victim's mouth, eyes, or any cut on the skin, can cause a lifetime of problems. They are the only known carriers of the microscopic parasite called Trypanosoma cruzi, which causes the deadly Chagas disease, a deadly disease that causes 10,000 deaths every year. Chagas disease is an infection that spreads throughout the body, causing a number of complications. This disease takes up to 20 years to kill a person, and dying from the disease is extremely painful. And although the symptoms can be treated, there is no known effective cure for this deadly disease as of the moment. Number 4. Tsetse flies. What makes the tiny tsetse fly dangerous is not the insect itself, but rather the parasite that it carries. This little fly can deliver a parasite that causes sleeping sickness. Sleeping sickness is a disease that can be fatal if left untreated, and sufferers experience symptoms which include fevers, headaches, and joint pains. In more advanced cases, a victim can suffer from confusion, poor coordination, numbness, and trouble sleeping, hence its name. It takes over a week for sleeping sickness to develop, so you won't know you have it until you start noticing the symptoms. Fortunately, the tsetse fly can only be found in Africa, and there is no known infestation outside the continent. Tsetse flies are considered the deadliest biting insect native to Africa. It is estimated that about 500,000 people have already lost their lives to the disease that this insect brings. On the upside, it seems that African authorities have the disease pretty much under control, only recording 977 cases back in 2018. Number 3. The tick. Ticks are a common parasite that infests many different types of animals, but what we commonly know as the tick is the kind that infests our pet cats and dogs. They are so common that varieties of ticks can be found all over the world. If a country has a furry creature, it's definite that there are ticks there. Ticks are known carriers of various diseases, some just minor irritations, while others can be downright deadly, caused by a variety of bacteria carried by ticks. Ehrlichiosis is a flu-like illness with symptoms like muscle aches, fever, chills, headache, and upset stomachs. It also occasionally causes a rash, but symptoms typically don't start until 1 to 2 weeks after exposure to infected ticks. Ehrlichiosis can be treated with antibiotics, but left alone, it can cause serious and potentially deadly symptoms like respiratory failure, brain damage, and uncontrolled bleeding. Anaplasmosis, although spread by a different bacteria, can have similar consequences and is also treatable with antibiotics. Number 2. Fleas. Despite their tiny stature, even compared to other bugs, fleas are recognized by many as a very dangerous parasite. It's not because they have a painful bite. In fact, aside from a slight itch, you can't feel if these guys bite you at all. It's also not because they inject a very powerful toxin into the human body. The danger comes from these guys' feeding habits. Fleas suck blood from humans, animals, reptiles, and birds. They generally pierce the skin to get in contact with blood to feed on them and can cause initial allergic reactions like itching or swollen skin. And because of how they feed, fleas easily spread deadly viruses like myxomatosis and bacteria like murine. These tiny insects can also reproduce very quickly. A female can lay up to 2,000 eggs during their lifespan. Young fleas are also very voracious and can consume blood up to 15 times their own body weight. Number 1. Mosquitoes. Is it a surprise that mosquitoes come in at number 1 on this list? Well, you shouldn't be surprised because these little pests are, bar none, the deadliest insects on Earth. Most of the diseases that are carried by mosquitoes are deadly, and they are responsible for causing 1 million deaths every year. The World Health Organization, or WHO, estimates that in every 30 seconds, a child dies due to malaria. Mosquitoes carry malaria germs from one place to another and spread the germs into the victim's blood by biting. This disease is so widespread that 500 million cases of malaria are reported every year throughout the world. In addition to malaria, mosquitoes also transmit yellow fever, chikungunya, West Nile virus, dengue fever, filariasis, Zika virus, and all these are deadly infections and diseases.